The orientation packet for St. Ambrose Hospice was 43 pages long. I read it in the break room on my first night, a cup of cold coffee growing a skin beside me. Medication protocols, visitor policies, liability waivers, the usual. I was skimming by page 30, looking for the section on parking validation, when I found Rule 7. It was 3 sentences, typed in the same font as everything else. Staff assigned to the East Wing must ensure that patient rooms remain illuminated at all times. Under no circumstances should a patient in the East Wing be left unattended between the hours of 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. If a patient requests that you come closer or uses similar language to invite physical proximity, you must exit the room immediately and notify the charge nurse. I read it twice. Then I found Diana at the nurse's station. Page 31, I said, Rule 7. Her pen stopped moving. You're assigned to West Wing tonight, she said. You don't need to worry about Rule 7. But what does it mean? Why would... You're West Wing. She picked up her pen again. Focus on your patients. I worked West Wing for 6 weeks. I didn't think about Rule 7. The East Wing was just a hallway I passed on my way to the break room. Double doors with small windows. Lights always on, always bright. Sometimes I'd see the nurses who worked there. A small rotation. Mostly older women who'd been at St. Ambrose for decades. They kept to themselves. They had a look about them. I didn't ask. Then Marcus quit without notice, and Diana called me into her office. She gave me a 2-page document, supplemental guidelines, verbal protocols, scripts for specific situations. If a patient asks you to come closer, respond with, I can hear you just fine from here. If a patient asks you to turn off the lights, respond with, the lights need to stay on for your safety. If a patient tells you they can see someone else in the room, respond with, I'll make sure you're not disturbed. Then exit and notify the charge nurse. If a patient's voice changes, exit immediately. Do not respond. I signed the paper. Diana told me I'd be partnered with Helen until I was comfortable. Don't break the rules, she said, not even once. Helen was 70 years old. She'd worked at St. Ambrose since before I was born. On my first night in the East Wing, she walked me through the protocols with the efficiency of someone explaining how to operate a copy machine. Lights stay on, distance stays constant. You hear something wrong, you leave. That's it. But what are we... That's it? She checked her clipboard. Room E1 needs vitals. Watch and learn. The patient in E1 was an elderly man, eyes closed, breathing shallow. Helen checked his IV, adjusted his blanket, made notes on her clipboard. She never got closer than arm's length from the bed. See, she said when we left. Nothing complicated. The first 3 nights were quiet. I followed Helen, learned the routine, kept my distance. The patients were what I expected. Elderly, dying, mostly unconscious. The rooms were bright, almost painfully bright. Every light on, no shadows anywhere. I started to relax. Then I met Mrs. Holloway, room E4, 92 years old, pancreatic cancer. According to her chart, she'd been unresponsive for days. But when we entered, her eyes were open, tracking us. The light hurts, she said. Her voice was clear. Can you turn it down? The lights need to stay on for your safety, Helen said. She was adjusting the lamp, not looking at the patient. It's so bright. Mrs. Holloway's eyes moved to me. You're new. I felt Helen's hand on my arm. Come here, Mrs. Holloway said. Let me see you. I can hear you just fine from here, I said. She smiled. I don't know how to describe it. Her mouth moved correctly, The expression was technically right, but something about it was like watching someone smile who had learned the motion from a photograph. "That's fine, dear," she said. That's just fine." We left. In the hallway, Helen let out a breath. "Good," she said. "You listened." I wanted to ask what I'd listened to, what had been wrong with that smile, why Helen's hand was still shaking. I didn't ask. The weeks accumulated. I learned the rhythms of the East Wing, the 30-minute checks, the bright lights, the scripts I recited without thinking. Most nights were quiet. The patients slept or seemed to sleep, and I made my rounds and filled out my charts and drove home at dawn feeling like I'd done nothing at all. The sameness of it was almost peaceful. Room to room, chart to chart. The soft beeping of monitors, the hum of fluorescent lights, the particular silence of people waiting to die. Helen didn't explain anything. When I asked questions, and I asked at first, she would just check her clipboard and move to the next room. Eventually, I stopped asking. The protocols were the protocols, the rules were the rules, the understanding wasn't part of the job. But I noticed things. I noticed that the East Wing patients never had visitors. No family members sitting vigil. No friends stopping by with flowers. The rooms were always empty, except for the patient and whoever was on shift. I noticed that the patients who came to the East Wing never came from the West Wing. They arrived from outside transfers from hospitals, nursing homes, other facilities, always late at night, always when the hallways were quiet, always with charts that seemed incomplete, histories that didn't quite add up, next of kin fields left blank. I noticed that Helen never touched the patients directly. She'd adjust their blankets with gloved hands, check their IVs from a distance, make notes without leaning over their beds. I started doing the same without being told. I noticed that the lights in the East Wing flickered sometimes. Never in the same room twice. Never when I was looking directly at them. Just a flutter at the edge of my vision. A brief dimming that I could never quite confirm. I noticed the way the other nurses talked, or didn't talk, about the East Wing. When I mentioned it in the break room, conversations would stop. People would find excuses to leave. Even the doctors avoided the topic, changing the subject whenever I asked about transfer protocols or patient histories. And I noticed the photographs. Every patient room had a small cork board by the door, meant for family photos, cards, personal touches. In the West Wing, these boards were covered with pictures. Grandchildren, weddings, vacations, lives lived and loved. In the East Wing, the boards were empty, every single one. Except they weren't always empty. Sometimes when I did my rounds, I'd see something pinned to a board. A photograph I hadn't noticed before. A face looking out at me. Not the patient's face, not a family member's face, just a face. Old photographs, faded and yellowed, of people I didn't recognize. But when I came back 30 minutes later, the photographs would be gone. The boards would be empty again. And I would check my notes and find no record that I'd seen anything at all. I mentioned it to Helen once. "The photographs," I said, "on the cork boards, they keep appearing and disappearing." Helen looked at me. Her expression didn't change. "The boards are empty," she said. "They've always been empty. But I saw the boards are empty." She checked her clipboard. "E3 needs vitals. Let's go." I didn't mention the photographs again. But I kept seeing them. Brief glimpses of faces that weren't quite right. Eyes that followed me as I walked past. Smiles that reminded me of something I couldn't name. After a while, I stopped looking at the cork boards entirely. There was a night, about a month into my time in the East Wing, when something happened that I've never been able to explain. I was doing rounds alone. Helen had called in sick and no one else was available to cover. The East Wing was quiet. The patients were sleeping. Everything was normal. I was in room E5, checking vitals on a patient named Mr. Delacroix. He was unconscious, had been for days, wasn't expected to last the week. Routine check. Nothing unusual. But when I turned to leave, the door was closed. I hadn't closed the door. The protocols required doors to stay open during checks. I walked to the door, reached for the handle, pushed. It didn't move. I pushed harder. Still nothing. The door was stuck or locked or held by something I couldn't see. Behind me, I heard breathing. Not Mr. Delacroix's breathing. That was shallow, rattling, the breathing of someone whose lungs were failing. This was different, deeper, closer, coming from the corner of the room. I turned around. The room looked the same. Mr. Delacroix in his bed. The monitors beeping steadily, the lights burning bright overhead. But there was a shadow in the corner. The shape that didn't match the furniture, didn't correspond to anything that should have been there. I stared at it. It stared back. I don't know how long we stood there. Minutes maybe, hours. Time felt wrong, stretched and compressed at the same time. Then the lights flickered. And when they came back on, the shadow was gone. The door was open. Mr. Delacroix was looking at me. His eyes were open, clear, alert. "Thank you," he said, "for staying." I left the room. I didn't look back. Mr. Delacroix died that night. The chart said he never regained consciousness. I didn't correct it. Some nights, though, the patients were awake. Those were the difficult nights. Mr. Reeves in E2 asked me to hold his hand. His voice was his own. His eyes were clear. He was scared, he said. Scared of dying alone. I sat in the chair by the door and told him I was there. That he wasn't alone, that I would stay until he fell asleep. He cried. He thanked me. He reached toward me with a trembling hand. I didn't move. Eventually he stopped reaching. His arm fell back to the bed. His eyes closed. When I checked on him 30 minutes later, he was dead. The cork board by his door had a photograph on it. An old picture, black and white, of a young man in a military uniform. He was smiling. I looked away. When I looked back, the board was empty. I told myself I'd done the right thing. The protocols existed for a reason. Helen would have done the same thing. But I kept seeing his hand, reaching toward me, kept hearing his voice, asking for something so simple. Mrs. Patterson in E5 died the following week. She'd been unconscious for days, but an hour before she passed, she opened her eyes and started talking. Not to me, to someone I couldn't see. "Yes," she said, "I understand. I'm ready now." I stood in the doorway and watched. The scripts said to leave if a patient reported seeing someone else in the room. But she wasn't reporting it. She was just talking, having a conversation with empty air. "I've been waiting so long," she said. "Will it hurt?" A pause. She nodded at something. "Okay, I'll come closer now." She started to sit up. Her body shouldn't have been able to do that. She'd been immobile for days. Her muscles atrophied, her strength gone. But she was sitting up, swinging her legs over the side of the bed, getting ready to stand. I should have left. The protocols were clear. But I didn't leave. I stood there frozen, watching her rise from the bed and walk toward the corner of the room. The corner where the light didn't quite reach, where a shadow lingered despite the fluorescent brightness. She stopped at the edge of the shadow, reached out her hand. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for waiting." And then she fell. I caught her. I shouldn't have gotten that close. Shouldn't have let her touch me, but she was falling and I moved without thinking. She was so light. Like holding paper. Like holding something that was already gone. Her eyes were open, looking up at me, clear and calm and grateful. "You're warm," she said. I forgot what warm felt like. Then she died, in my arms, with her hand pressed against my chest. I laid her back in the bed, called Helen, filled out the paperwork. The corkboard by her door was covered with photographs. Dozens of them. Old faces, young faces, faces I'd never seen before. All of them smiling that smile. By the time Helen arrived, the board was empty again. "You touched her," Helen said. It wasn't a question. She was falling. I caught her. Helen looked at me for a long moment. Something in her expression that I couldn't read. "Some things," she said, "are worse than falling." She didn't explain what she meant. She never explained anything. But that night when I drove home, my chest was cold where Mrs. Patterson's hand had pressed against it. Cold in a way that didn't fade, that didn't warm, that stayed with me through the shower and the sleep and the dawn light filling my apartment. I still feel it sometimes. That cold spot, like a handprint pressed into my skin, like something left behind. There was a night, I don't remember exactly when, the shifts blurred together after a while, when I was alone in E7. Helen was handling something in E3. The patient was a man named Ashworth, congestive heart failure. He'd been unconscious for days. He wasn't unconscious when I entered. He was sitting up in bed, looking at me. "Mr. Ashworth?" I said from the doorway. "How are you feeling?" He didn't answer. His head turned toward me slowly, like something heavy rotating on a pivot. "Mr. Ashworth, I want to show you something," he said. His voice was wrong. I knew it immediately. Deeper, slower. Like the words were being pushed through something that wasn't made for speaking. "I can hear you just fine from here," I said. "The dark," he said. "It's beautiful. Come closer, I'll show you." The lamp beside his bed flickered. I left, closed the door, stood in the hallway with my back against the wall trying to breathe. When Helen found me, she just nodded. "E7?" she said. "How did you know?" "He's been difficult." She handed me a cup of coffee. "You did the right thing." Mr. Ashworth died that night. Natural causes, according to the chart. I didn't go back into the room. But the next morning when I was leaving, I walked past E7 one more time. The door was open, the room was empty, a body removed, sheets changed, ready for the next patient. The corkboard by the door was covered with photographs, hundreds of them, overlapping, layered, covering every inch of the board. Faces I didn't recognize. Faces that looked like Mr. Ashworth but weren't. Faces that smiled that smile. I blinked. The board was empty. I went home. I didn't sleep. I worked the East Wing for 3 more months. 12 patients died during that time. 12 faces that I watched change and go still. 12 hands that reached for me and found nothing. I followed the protocols. I kept my distance. I recited the scripts. I did everything right. But things were changing. Small things. Things I couldn't quite name. The cold spot on my chest where Mrs. Patterson had touched me. It was spreading. Not much. Just a little each week, expanding outward from the place where her hand had pressed. By the end of the first month, it covered my heart. By the end of the second, it had reached my shoulder. I didn't tell anyone. What would I say? And the photographs. I saw them more often now. Not just on the cork boards, but other places too. In windows, reflected, in puddles on the parking lot, in the dark screen of my phone before I unlocked it. Always the same faces, always that smile. I started avoiding mirrors. Helen noticed something was wrong. She never said anything directly, but I caught her watching me sometimes. Looking at me the way she looked at the patients. Measuring, evaluating. "You should transfer back to West Wing," she said one night. Unprompted, out of nowhere. "You've done your time here." "I'm fine." "No one's fine." She checked her clipboard. "E6 needs vitals." I didn't transfer. I don't know why. Something about the East Wing had gotten into me, and leaving felt like running. Leaving felt like admitting that something was wrong. Nothing was wrong. I was fine. The cold spot kept spreading. In the 3rd month, a new patient arrived in E4, a woman named Mrs. Chen. Lung cancer, end stage. She was conscious when she arrived. Unusual for the East Wing. Most patients came to us already gone, already sliding toward whatever waited at the end. But Mrs. Chen was awake, alert, frightened. "Where am I?" she asked when I came in for her first check. "This isn't the hospital." "Where's my daughter?" "You're at St. Ambrose," I said from the doorway. "A hospice facility. Your daughter is listed as your emergency contact. She's been notified." "I don't want to be here." Her eyes were wet. "I don't want to die here. Please. Can you call someone? Can you get me out?" "You need to rest," I said. "Your daughter will visit soon." Her daughter never visited. No one visited. In 3 weeks, no one came to see Mrs. Chen. I visited her every 30 minutes, checked her vitals, adjusted her medications, recited the scripts when she asked me to come closer. She asked me to come closer a lot. "Please," she said night after night. "I'm so scared. I don't want to die alone. Please hold my hand. Just for a minute. Just so I know someone's here." I sat in the chair by the door. I told her she wasn't alone. I told her I would stay until she fell asleep. I didn't hold her hand. The last night, the night she died, she was different, calmer, resigned. "I understand now," she said. "I know why you won't come closer. I can see them too." I didn't respond. "They've been here the whole time," she said. She smiled. It was her smile, tired and sad and completely human. I just couldn't see them before. She died an hour later. I was in the hallway when it happened. Heard the long, steady tone of the flat line. Saw the nurses move past me into the room. I didn't go in. Diana signed her death certificate. Natural causes, expected outcome. I quit the next day. Diana didn't seem surprised. She shook my hand and wished me well. "You followed the rules," she said. "That's more than most." I moved to a different city, got a job at a regular hospital, day shift, cardiac unit, bright lights and busy hallways and patients who got better instead of worse. I told myself I'd left St. Ambrose behind. The cold spot kept spreading. It covered my chest, now my back, my arms. I wore long sleeves even in summer. I told people I was always cold. Bad circulation, nothing serious. The photographs stopped appearing. Or maybe I stopped seeing them. Or maybe I learned not to look. I was fine, I was normal, I was alive. And then my father had a stroke. He's in a facility now, long-term care. Not a hospice. The doctors say he could live for months, maybe longer. The damage was severe, but he's stable. That's the word they keep using. Stable. The facility is nice, clean, well lit. Nothing like the East Wing. The staff smile when they see me. The other patients wave from their wheelchairs. Normal, ordinary, safe. I visit him every day. Sit in the chair by the door. Talk to him about nothing, the weather, the news, the construction on the highway that's been going on for months. He can't respond. Hasn't been able to respond since the stroke. But I talk anyway. His room has a corkboard by the door. His sister pinned some photographs there the first week. Him as a young man, him at my college graduation, him holding me when I was a baby, normal photographs, family photographs. I try not to look at them. The cold has reached my hands now. I noticed it last week. My fingertips are always numb, always icy, no matter how warm the room is. I wear gloves, sometimes tell people it's poor circulation. Nothing serious. The facility has rules, of course. Visiting hours, sign-in procedures, hand sanitizer by every door. But they're normal rules, reasonable rules. Nothing about lights, nothing about distance. Nothing about what to do if a patient asks you to come closer. I keep my distance anyway. I don't lean over his bed. I don't hold his hand. I sit in the chair by the door and I talk and I watch and I wait for something that I tell myself isn't coming. 3 weeks ago, I saw something. It was late, past visiting hours, but the night nurse knew me, let me stay. My father was sleeping. The room was quiet. I was sitting in my usual chair, reading a book I wasn't really reading, when I noticed something on the corkboard. A new photograph. It was tucked behind the others, almost hidden. Black and white. Old. A group of people standing in front of a building. Their faces were unclear, blurred by time or damage or something else. But they were all looking at the camera, all smiling. I didn't recognize any of them. I didn't recognize the building. I stood up, walked toward the corkboard, reached for the photograph. Don't. My father's voice behind me. I turned. He was still lying in bed, eyes closed, body motionless. The monitors showed the same flat activity they'd shown for weeks. I must have imagined it. The facility was quiet, but sound traveled. Someone in another room. A television left on. Something. I turned back to the corkboard. The photograph was gone. I checked behind the other pictures, checked the floor, checked everywhere, nothing. I went home and didn't sleep. 2 weeks ago, another photograph appeared. This one was different, clearer, newer. It was on the mirror in my bathroom. I'd just gotten out of the shower, steam still fogging the glass, and there it was. A photograph, taped to the center of the mirror, right where my reflection should be. My father, young, maybe 30, maybe standing in front of a house I didn't recognize. He was smiling. I reached for it, and my hand passed through empty air. There was nothing there. Just steam, just glass. Just my own reflection, pale and tired and cold. But for a moment, just a moment, I could have sworn my reflection was smiling differently, wider, wronger, like someone who had learned the expression from a photograph. The next day, my father's sister called. She was worried. The staff had told her I was visiting late at night, staying past hours, sitting alone in his room in the dark. "You need to take care of yourself," she said. "He wouldn't want you to fall apart." I told her I was fine. I didn't tell her about the photographs. I didn't tell her about the voice I'd heard or thought I'd heard or imagined. I didn't tell her about the cold that had spread from a single handprint to my entire body, that made every touch feel distant, that made warmth something I could remember but no longer feel. I didn't tell her that every time I sat in that chair by the door, I could feel something waiting, something patient, something that had all the time in the world, 1 week ago, I started seeing the photographs everywhere. On my windshield in the morning, on my computer screen at work, on the walls of the facility, replacing the bland landscape prints with images of faces I didn't recognize. All of them smiling, all of them watching. I stopped looking in mirrors, stopped looking at photographs at all. Kept my eyes on the floor, on my clipboard, on anything that couldn't smile back. It didn't help. Yesterday, he opened his eyes. He hadn't opened his eyes in 3 weeks. The nurses said it was impossible, said his brain activity was minimal, said he was effectively gone. But his eyes were open, and he was looking at me. Dad? His mouth moved, working at something, trying to form words. Dad, can you hear me? His hand lifted from the bed, trembling, reaching toward me. Come closer, he said. His voice was his own, I was sure of it. Weak and broken, but his. I can't hear you, I said. Dad, I'm right here, I can hear you. Please. His eyes were wet. I'm scared. Please come closer, hold my hand. I stood up, took a step toward the bed, then I stopped. The light in the room was dim, the blinds were closed. The only illumination came from the monitors beside his bed, casting everything in a soft blue glow. Dad, I said, I'm going to turn on the light, okay? It's too dark in here. Something changed in his face, just for a moment. A flicker, like a mask slipping. Then he was my father again, confused and frightened and dying. Please, he said, I don't want to die alone. Please hold my hand. Just come a little closer. I walked to the window, opened the blinds, let the light flood into the room. When I turned back, his eyes were closed. His hand had fallen back to the bed. He was breathing slowly, evenly, like he was asleep. I sat back down in the chair by the door. I haven't moved since. It's been 4 hours now. The sun is setting. The light in the room is getting dim again. The nurses offered to turn on the overhead light, but I told them I'd do it myself. I haven't done it yet. My father is still silent. The monitors show brain activity that shouldn't be there, spikes and patterns that the nurses can't explain. They say it's unusual. They say they've never seen anything like it. I have. He opened his eyes a few minutes ago. He's looking at me now. His mouth is moving, but no sound is coming out. Just the shape of words over and over. Come closer. The light is almost gone. The room is filling with shadows. And my father is reaching for me, his hand trembling in the air between us, waiting. I should turn on the light. I should call the nurse. I should leave. But he's my father. He's dying. And he's asking me to hold his hand. The protocols say I should keep my distance. The protocols say should never respond when a patient asks me to come closer. But there are no protocols for this. No rules for when the patient is someone you love. No scripts for when the hand reaching toward you is the hand that held yours when you were small, that taught you to ride a bike, that rested on your shoulder at your mother's funeral. The room is dark now. The only light is from the monitors, blue and cold, not enough to see by. My father's eyes are open, his hand is reaching. Come closer, he says without sound. I'm standing up. I'm walking toward the bed. The monitors are beeping, something about his heart rate, something about brain activity, something the nurses will come to check any minute now. But there's time, there's just enough time. His hand is cold when I take it, so cold. But his grip is strong, stronger than it should be, and when he pulls me closer, I let him. I lean over the bed. His eyes are open, looking at me, looking through me. And his mouth moves one more time. Thank you. The door opens. Light floods in. A nurse is saying something, asking something, but I can't hear her. I'm looking at my father's face. His eyes are closed now. His hand is still. The monitors are showing flat lines, but he's smiling. That smile. I know that smile. The nurse is talking to me, asking if I'm okay, asking why I'm just standing here, holding a dead man's hand, staring at nothing. I tell her I'm fine. I tell her I just need a minute. I tell her I'll be right out. She leaves. The door closes. The room is bright now, fluorescent overhead, no shadows anywhere. I look at my father's face. The smile is gone. He just looks tired, peaceful, like he's finally sleeping. I let go of his hand. I walk to the door. I open it. The hallway is bright. Normal. Nurses and doctors and visitors moving past, living their lives, unaware. I step out of the room. I close the door behind me. I walk down the hallway toward the exit. My footsteps echo on the linoleum. My reflection passes through windows, through glass doors, through surfaces that catch the light and throw it back. I look normal. I feel normal. But something is different. I can feel it in my hand, where his grip was too strong, in my chest, where something settled when I leaned over that bed. I followed the rules for 3 months. I kept my distance. I did everything right. And then, when it mattered, when it was my father, my family, my grief, I leaned closer. I said yes. The exit door is ahead of me. Sunlight through the glass, the parking lot, my car, the drive home. I should keep walking. I should get in my car. I should go home and sleep and wake up tomorrow and pretend none of this happened. But I've stopped walking. I'm standing in the hallway, looking at my reflection in the glass door, and something is wrong. My face looks the same, my eyes, my mouth, my expression, but the reflection isn't quite keeping up. When I move my hand, the reflection moves a moment later. When I turn my head, the reflection follows, just slightly behind. I'm smiling now. I don't remember deciding to smile, but I'm smiling, and the reflection is smiling, and the smile is wrong. Too wide, too knowing, not quite fitting my face. The door opens. Someone walks past me. They don't notice. I start walking again, through the door, into the sunlight, across the parking lot. My car is where I left it. My keys are in my pocket. Everything is exactly as it should be. I get in the car, I start the engine, I pull out of the parking lot. The sun is setting. The sky is turning orange, then red, then dark. I drive. I don't know where I'm going. Home, maybe. Somewhere else, maybe. It doesn't seem to matter. The streetlights are coming on. One by one, they flicker to life as I pass. Some of them flicker off again. I watch them in my rearview mirror, watch the darkness spread behind me, pooling in the spaces where the light should be. I'm smiling. The radio is off, but I can hear something. Soft, distant, like someone breathing in the seat beside me. I don't look. I just keep driving. The night is long. The road is empty, and somewhere ahead of me, or behind me, or inside me, something is waiting. Something that was my father. Something that reached for me. Something that I reached back. The cold is different now. Not uncomfortable. Not painful. Just there. Part of me. Like it's always been part of me. I think about Mrs. Patterson, her hand on my chest, the way she looked at me when she died. Grateful. Calm. I think about Mrs. Chen, the way she kept asking me to come closer, the way I kept saying no, the way she smiled at the end, that real smile, and said she understood. I think I understand now too. The fuel gauge is dropping. I'll need to stop soon, find a gas station, talk to whoever is working the night shift. There's one ahead. Fluorescent lights in the darkness. A figure behind the counter. I pull in. off the engine. Sit there for a moment, watching. The attendant is young, alone, tired. I get out of the car, walk toward the door. My reflection moves beside me in the glass. The door chimes when I open it. The attendant looks up. "Evening," he says. "Help you with something?" I walk to the counter. Stand there for a moment looking at him. "Just gas," I say. "Pump 3?" He nods. Starts the pump. Goes back to his phone. I don't leave. "Long shift?" I hear myself say. He looks up, shrugs. "Yeah, all night. Must get lonely. Sometimes." I don't move. He's looking at me more carefully now, starting to notice something wrong. "Your hands," he says, "they're shaking." I look down. He's right. "Are you okay?" he asks. He's standing up now. "You want me to call someone?" I should leave. I'm not leaving. I'm leaning forward, getting closer. "Can I show you something?" I say. The lights flicker. In the darkness, I can hear him breathing. Fast. Scared. Then I'm around the counter. And he's not backing away fast enough. And the cold is spreading from my hands to his shoulders. And then he stops moving. And then he starts smiling. I don't know how long we stand there in the dark. Long enough for the emergency lights to click on. Long enough for me to step back and look at what I've done. He's on the floor. Not moving. But he's smiling. That smile. I step over him. Walk back to the door. Get in my car. The night is waiting. The road is waiting. So many gas stations between here and morning. So many rest stops. So many night shifts. So many people who don't know the rules. I keep driving. The cold doesn't bother me anymore. Nothing bothers me anymore. There's just the road and the darkness and the thing inside me that used to be grief. I pass another gas station, another pool of light, another figure behind another counter. I don't stop. Not yet. But I know I will. The highway stretches ahead of me, empty, dark, patient, just like me. I find a motel as the sun comes up, check in, close the curtains, sit on the bed in the darkness and wait for night to fall again. The mirror in the bathroom shows my face, my smile. I don't look away. I don't need to anymore. The rules were simple once. Keep your distance, stay in the light. Don't lean closer when someone asks. But rules are for the living. And I'm not sure what I am anymore. I'm just cold and patient and waiting. The sun sets. The room fills with shadows. I stand up. I walk to the door. I open it. The night is waiting. And somewhere out there, someone is working a late shift. Someone is sitting alone in the dark. Someone is going to ask if I'm okay, if I need anything, if there's something they can help me with. And I'm going to smile. And I'm going to say yes. Come closer. Let me show you something.